Very good morning to you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And as I say morning, I'm speaking to those who are on this side of the world here in East Africa. I do recognize that often we do have people from in different time zones. So whatever time it is, wherever you are around the world, good day to you. And welcome to the Centonomy Open Day. We are so happy to have you here. We're glad that you have chosen to take these few minutes with us on this Saturday, the 6th of August, to kind of just unpack these issues that we're facing here and to understand some of the issues that are going to help us to make sound financial decisions in a changing environment. So for everyone who's joined and has gotten into the session on time, I want to applaud you, first of all, for keeping time. Here at Centonomy, we do our very best to honor your time as well. So we don't like to start late, and we want to be able to get as much information across to you as possible. So we're going to have an interactive session. As always, we love to hear from you and have your participation come through this session. And so we're going to use multiple methods in this Zoom platform to be able to hear from you. I believe we're streaming this also on other platforms as well. And so for those of you who are outside of Zoom, we'll use the chat box that you have there. If you are in the Zoom platform, to all of us who've joined already, wow, the numbers are growing. As I had not even noticed how many we were in the room, got over close to 100 people, which is excellent. And we're going to continue to see that grow as we go. For those of you who are in the room, we're going to use the chat box. We're also going to use the Q&A. So the chat box is for comments. It is for our ability to respond to questions that are raised by our wonderful, wonderful panel of speakers today. And then we're going to use the Q&A tab for specific questions that you want to ask. And as we are speaking, as we're giving our presentations here, please do feel free. Something caught your attention and you want us to capture your question, please use the question and answer tab, which is just at the bottom there of your screen or at the top, depending on which device that you're using. You'll see Q&A. If you click on that, that's the best place to be able to put your questions through to us. So for those who are in the room already, we're going to try and use those tools that we have already at hand. So if you don't mind, let us know where you are around the world. Let's use the chat box right now, if you do not mind. Excellent. Please use the chat box that we have there at the bottom. And please type in where you are in the world, just so that we can recognize you and give you a wave and say welcome. It's always great to have some context to where we are. So let's, in the chat box, everybody, let us know where you are so that we can be able to greet you officially and have that. So which town, which city, which country are you in, so that we can be able to recognize your presence here. Let's use the chat box for that right now. As we prepare for that, great. Some people have already started using now we have, you see, instructions are important. We have used the question and answer for a comment. I'm using the chat box right now if you can. If you're able to use it, let us know. If not, sometimes, is there a problem with the chat box? Maybe. I think we may need to give permissions to use the chat box. Steve? I think that may be the issue. That is the problem. You see, this is great. Thank you that you have helped us to understand. So I'm going to help see if we can get some help to have the chat box. But well done for us being in, not being cowed and not being stifled by a small issue. Thank you so much, Grace. Mary Olwetu, I hope I said it correctly. Olwetu, all the way in South Africa. Good God. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, Wilson, I can see it there. Thank you so much. We're trying to get that chat open up so that everybody can be able to, everyone, let's go. Let's see if we can be able to do this. Very good. Excellent. Now it's on. Now it's on, guys. I think we can be able to use that. Well done, Mary. Thank you so much. Now the chat box is on. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good, 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 good. Well done, well done, well done, well done. Good, good, good. Ritzy is saying perfect all the way. Good. We've got folks in South Africa. We've got folks in Rwanda. We've got some folks in Uganda. We've got quite a few people from all around Kenya. They're telling me that. Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Got some wonderful folks in Turkey. I told you, this has now become an international audience in which we are speaking. And so I'm gonna just recognize each one of you and say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. We don't take it for granted that you've given us your time to be here in this place and to be able to join us, hopefully to be able to take home some ideas that can help us break through in our financial decisions. Well done. We've got somebody all the way in the UK. That is London, not United Kisumu. Well done, well done, well done. In the cold, cold banana highlands of Kenya, we've got lots of people here. Ooh, Ritzy is in Malta. I wonder what the weather is like in Malta at this time. Ritzy, you can let us know in the chat box as well. Good morning, good morning. Hot, hot, hot. Now you see, you're making us extremely, extremely jealous of you because the last couple of days we've had a cold, cold spike here in Nairobi. Freezing. In fact, I'm wearing a short sleeve t-shirt for the first time in a long time. Welcome, 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 guys. Excellent, excellent. So we recognize you all, and we're so grateful that you've given us the time to be here and you've shown the interest in being in this session. The theme for today, ladies and gentlemen, now let's get serious. Tools of the trade. You need a pen, you need a paper right next to you to take notes. Even when I attend these sessions, I always have a pen and paper because you will learn, even from the questions. You'll learn from those who are giving their presentations. And if you don't write these things down, it's easy to forget. The theme for today is don't change the goal, change the plan. When things change on the field, and we'll be talking about this shortly, when things change on the field, whichever game that you're playing, it is not about changing now. The game has not changed. The rules of the game have not changed. And so you can't change the goal. You can't decide that we're playing soccer now, or the goal is going to be that we high five one another. You will lose. The issue here is if what you had come onto the field is not working anymore, if you had thought that this investment plan is what was going to get you there and it's not working anymore, the goal does not change. It's the plan that needs to change, the strategy that needs to change. And that's what we want to be able to do here. So we make sound financial decisions in a changing environment. The environment is changing, but the goal has not changed. I don't know, in the chat box, if you don't mind, write to me, any one of you, just because of COVID-19, just because of the high inflation in the world, just because of what else? What else is going on in the world? High unemployment. Just because there's war going on in different places in the world, and I'm not trying to make this light, please. I'm not trying to make these issues seem smaller than they are. They are massive and they do affect us. But just because they are happening in the world, just because there's a pandemic, just because travel is restricted, just because the economic environment may not be inviting, just because, for instance, here in Kenya, we're going through an election cycle, I want to ask you, did your goal for life to build wealth and to live abundantly, did that suddenly change in the chat box? Did it change? Did it change you and you said, oh, since life is so hard, now I'm just going to survive? Did your goal change to survival? I want to ask you, did you suddenly become a different person? Did you suddenly say, oh, okay, you know what? Things are so tough. I will just, that's it. I've given up. Did that change for you? I hazard a guess to everybody who is writing on this board, and I see there, our goals did not change. But if the environment changes, we must adapt our plan and our strategy in order to achieve the same goal that we started with. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Waithaka Gatumia, and I'm the CEO here at Centonomy. And we are on a mission to shift our mindset so that you as a purposeful person can create wealth and live abundantly, and that has not changed due to COVID-19. It has not changed due to inflation. It has not changed due to anything that has gone on around us. And so as the environment shifts, as the things that we thought were going to happen change, we change our plan to achieve the same goal. So if you're with us and you're social media inclined, hi to everybody. I can see that. Wonderful. All those who are joining us on different social media, welcome, welcome, welcome. Those on YouTube and those on Facebook. We'll be using the chat box to interact with us so that we can deal with this issue. If you're socially media inclined, there may be some goodies in it for you. Please do tweet, please do post on your social media, Instagram, Facebook as well, and use the hashtag money management, hashtag financial freedom, hashtag Centonomy, so that we can be able to unpack and work on these things together. As I mentioned, we are going to deal with this issue of making sound financial decisions in a changing environment, because our goal, as everybody has written in the chat box, has not changed. And that's what we're working on here. We've said the goal remains the same, but our strategy or our plan may have to change. Here's what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we're in the real world. I'm not being delusional here, and I hope we're not being delusional. We're not deluding ourselves. If I have lost my job, God forbid, if I've lost my job, that does not mean that my goal changed. I therefore, in an experience where I've lost my job, have to re-strategize and figure out, do I get a new job or do I start a new business? What am I going to do to still achieve the same goal? If the business strategy is not working, we can't keep kicking a dead horse and hoping that it is going to revive. We move on and begin to say, what's the new strategy? We have to build and begin to be focused in a changing environment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an amazing, amazing group of speakers who are going to come and help us to unpack these issues. And our first speaker for today, I hope she is ready. Kanza, I'm going to ask that you prepare yourself where you are, just to give us the first, I'm trying to get to see where we are. There we go. I know Kanza is with us. She's one of the Centonomy speakers. Wonderful. Our wonderful trainers here at Centonomy. Karibu, Karibu, Kanza, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Waithaka. Thank you for the high energy to start us off this gray Saturday morning.
Yes, but the sun is trying to come out. The sun is trying to come out here in Nairobi. Kanza, I'm not seeing your video on yet. I think we're trying. Now? There we go, so we can see you. I wanted to just let you know that Kanza is one of our trainers here at Centonomy. She has been for a couple of years. She is an excellent, excellent financial planning professional. She is also a pension professional as well, and helps many people to plan for their retirement. And in this environment, Kanza, did your goal suddenly change just because did you decide now, because there's COVID, because there's high inflation, suddenly, you know what, I'm going to survive where I am? Did your goal change?
My goals didn't change, but I realized that if I didn't take action, yes, I would not have achieved those goals, or I won't achieve those goals.
Tell us more. Your time starts now. We want to listen to you and some of the things that will help us to re-strategize and plan in this session. Guys, put your hands together for Kanza Musyoka as she shares with us over the next couple of minutes. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Waithaka. A warm welcome to all of you. I can see we are such a good number. About 200 of you are online here with us, and I'm assuming there are more on YouTube. It is such a pleasure to be able to have these conversations. It's timely. And it's so relevant because we've been going through a period of challenging financial times. And together we can share ideas, we can learn from each other so that we make sure that we stick to the goals that we've set for our lives. As it shows on the screen, my name is Kanza Musyoka. I work for Zamara as a principal consultant. Zamara is a specialist financial services company that provides actuarial services, pension administration services, and insurance broking. And as Waithaka said, I also am a trainer with Centonomy. So allow me to put my short presentation on the screen. Waithaka, please confirm you can see it.
Yes, we can see it. You can be able to, there we go. Wonderful. Looks
all right. Allow me to just give you a minute. I need to switch off some lights because I can see they're affecting my screen. Just a minute.
That's all right. And as Kanza is coming back to share from her experience there, this is one of the benefits of being in the Centonomy 101 program, because it is not just Centonomy trainers who are taking you through. We go into the industry and look for industry experts like Kanza, who's in front of you right now, who are the ones who take you through the sessions in their area of expertise. So you're getting a broad view of these things. Kanza, go ahead.
Right. And I like what many of you have already said, that we are not changing their goal. We are just re-strategizing and changing our plans in the current environment. Just a minute. Not sure what's happening to my slide. It just wants to end. There we go. And if we can start by doing a personal assessment, the way life has been the last 3 years. We just came out, or we are still going through COVID. This is the third year of COVID. As Waithaka has said, there's a lot of political crisis around the world. And the biggest that has had a knock-on effect is the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And all this have affected every single corner of the world. No country, no town has remained the way it is. We've all been affected. It actually shows the way we've become a global village. We are interconnected in ways we never imagined. A disease started up in China, and in a couple of months, it spread and locked down an entire globe. The Russia-Ukraine crisis, we never paid attention, and it was building up. And before we knew it, it has affected the supply of goods and services throughout the world. So the effects of the last 3 years, of course, have culminated to where we are right now, where we are seeing our economic environment stuff. And therefore, when we look at our finances, we are going through, I think for our generation, this is, I think the worst we've seen it. And our generation, I mean any person who was born from the 1970s onwards. So I know when you look at your finances, you will probably think money seems to be disappearing faster than I'm getting it. Do you remember this song? Those who are born from the 1980s, Money Talks, right? And yeah, they say money talks, but it seems like mine is just always leaving and saying goodbye, right? That's how it feels. We are running out of money every single month. By the time the month ends, you're actually scraping from money here and there. And sometimes you have to get into debt so that we can be able to meet our living expenses. And sometimes when we look at our peers and we look at our neighbors, you wonder, are they also going through the same thing, or is it just isolated in my case? You know, you wonder whether you just had a quarrel with money. So we are all feeling it one way or another. I don't think there is anybody who's not feeling the impact that the world has on our finances. As I was explaining why we are where we are, we know COVID, we know the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and all that has led to a reduced economic growth. And what reduced economic growth means is that there's reduced production of goods and services. When there's reduced production of goods and services, it means that business activities has slowed down. So your company, this other company, are not producing goods and services the way they were doing before, right? And so when there's a reduction in the goods and services, what does it mean? It means there is reduced supply and high demand. You remember we were told the connection in school between demand and supply. So when supply is low, demand is high, and therefore the prices become high. So we've seen increase in food prices, we've seen increase in fuel and oil prices, and the knock-on effect of that leads to high inflation. So you can see the way what is happening in the economy, what is happening around us, what is happening in your economy, what is happening in your community, all has an effect on you and your finances. So we are living in an environment where there's high inflation. Inflation being the change of prices, the prices of goods and services, right? And inflation is good when it is moderated. If you're a business owner, you definitely want the price of your goods and services to continue to go up. Nobody wants to start their business when they're selling a cup at 4 shillings. And 10 years later, you're still selling that cup. You've improved the quality and you're still selling that cup at 4 shillings. Yeah, businesses thrive when the prices of goods and services go up moderately. The problem is when inflation is too high. Because when inflation is too high, it means when I go to the supermarket and buy something, I'm buying with the same 1,000 or 2,000, I'm buying less. So we need inflation in a country, in an economy, we need inflation, only that inflation must be moderated. And in the current environment, globally and locally, inflation is high. I like what Ronald Reagan said about inflation. Inflation is as violent as a MAGA as frightening as an armed robber, and as deadly as a hitman. Inflation creeps up on you, right? On day to day, we don't feel inflation, but when you look at it from at a month's time or at a year's time is when you feel, oh goodness, things have really changed. For me, I think the one item that I can relate to very easily is the price of bread, right? In 2019, if you recall, 2019, 2020, in Kenya, we were buying a 400 gram of bread for 50 shillings. Fast forward 2 years now, that 400 grams of bread is 65 shillings, right? I'm sure when it moved to 55, we were not feeling, but now when we look at it from that long-term perspective, you're like, okay, 15 shillings I'm buying bread for 15 shillings more. How many times in a week are you going to bread? How many times a week are you going to buy bread? And can you look at it in a month and in a year? So that already has an effect on your income. So as we go through these tough economic times, they are beyond our control. I don't think we can say that you can control the effects of COVID, you can't control the geopolitical issues, but what we can control is how we prepare for such times and the decisions we make when we are living through these tough financial times. So before we look at the strategy, I want to take us back to the foundation. That's how does the cycle of money work? And as I put there, it starts by what you earn. So when we earn money, we spend money in three main categories. For spending on your expenses, if you have debts, you pay debts and you save. And from your saving, you then invest. And we like to differentiate between saving and investing. Saving simply means putting money aside. You can put money in a bank account, but that is not investing. Investing is where your money grows. That I put 2,000 every month in a savings account, but I know it will be 2,000 in 6 months' time. But when I put it in a certain investment, it will grow and move from 2,000 to 3,000 and so forth. So always look at your ways of managing money from that aspect. I earn, regardless of whether you're employed or you have a business, you earn an income. And that income, you spend it by paying expenses, paying debt, and putting it aside in your savings. And for savings, you are going to put it in several investments so that it can grow and meet your financial goals. So we've talked about that the goal doesn't change, and we all have goals. Or I like what Waithaka has said, we dream, but our dreams must move to goals by putting them down. Until you put them down, they're just dreams. You'll always be talking about it. And if you can attest, if you can give a testimony, those people who don't have laid down goals, they struggle to achieve those dreams, right? So we have goals such as you want to own a home or you want to own homes. You want to take your children to good schools according to your own specification. You also want to educate yourself. You want to retire comfortably. You want to go for vacation as and when with your family and friends. You want to improve your community, so you want to assist in community projects. I think this one speaks to everybody. We all want to feel financially secure. You want to feel financially secure today and in the future. And the only way you can do this is by balancing these three things: how you spend, pay your debts, and how you save. So it's always a game of these three things. And just to reiterate, we focus so much on what we earn. Yes, what we earn is important. But at the end of the day, what matters the most, I'm going to repeat again, is the three things. It's how much you spend, how much you keep, and from what you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. So Robert Kiyosaki has taken to the next level of, we are building our wealth not just for today, for me tomorrow, and for my family in years to come, right? So as we are playing the three things, our strategy in terms of managing these tough times will involve how we look at our income, how we look at our expenses, how we look at debt, and how we look at our investments. So we've talked about that we have to put a strategy. And the strategy at this time is defensive, right? We have to defend our financial positions. And it's surprising that when you're sick or when you get a cold during this weather, we do all sorts manners of things to protect ourselves. We'll take all the ginger, garlic, lemon concoctions. You'll take supplements. You'll dress warmly, just to make sure that you protect your health. If there are issues of insecurity where you live, you'll take up certain actions. You will make sure that your gate is locked at all times. You come back home early. Your car has an alarm. You park it in a safe place. We are taking action. But when it comes to money, we sort of forget that we also must protect our finances. We must protect our finances as well. And protecting our finances in this aspect means we are going to look at building a defensive strategy. It's like a war. I want to say it's like a war because it's a battle. It's a battle to protect your current you and your future you. And as Kiyosaki has said, many generations to come. So like any war, it starts with the mind. And I like what many people have said, that they did not change the goals. So you still stuck true to what you wanted. So if you think you can get through these difficult financial times, then you can. If you are just going to say, you know what, I'll survive, as Waithaka has said, you will survive and you will be at a worse position than you should have been. So it's important that you try to protect yourself so that you're not worse off. You're at a better place so that when things recover, because it will recover. Markets will recover, investments will recover, your income, if it was impacted, will recover, right? But only if you take the right actions. So with the mindset, good to be positive, right? Don't be distracted. Yes, there's a lot of negative discussions out there. Investments are bad, but also in negative environments, there are opportunities. And the millionaires or the people who will do well in the few years to come after we get through this crisis are those who took advantage of the current market environment. So key is to focus on what you can control. And this is personal. What I can control is very different from what you can control, right? Our living situations are different. So when I look at my situation, what I can control, it must be modified or adapted to my lifestyle. Yes, stress will be there. I will not lie to you. We will be stressed. We will be panic. We will panic. We will be anxious. But it must be controlled. We never like losses. Nobody ever likes losses. Nobody likes losing money. Nobody likes losing a job. It is not natural. We don't like losing things. In the same way, we don't like losing relationships, right? So even with money, we do not like going through downtimes when it comes to money. But because such situations will happen, we know stress will be there. So then you look at ways that you can manage your stress. Because when you allow prolonged periods of stress and you are in prolonged periods of anxiety, it will then affect your judgment. It will affect your judgment even about money. You won't be able to make the best decisions for you. And the good thing is, as we've seen after COVID or during COVID, we are resilient. If there's anything we've learned as an individual, I'm sure you can attest. And as groups of people, as a community, as a country, as global citizens, we have learned that we are resilient. Here we are. About 300 of us are here. It means we have been able to weather the storm, to even be here and to log in and to listen and learn something about that can help our finances. So let's look at the 4 things I talked about. I said we earn. From what we earn, we pay our expenses, we pay debts, we save, and invest. So let's look at each and see how can I be able to build a defensive strategy. So when it comes to your income, and I'm talking to people who are business owners. And if you're a business owner, I am talking about it from an aspect that you have an income. If you're a business owner, you're just not going to use your profits. Profits should be used to grow the business. So you should be earning an income from your business. So I'm looking from it from a perspective that you are earning an income as an employee or as a business owner. So as an employee, of course, you need to show value during this time. We've had a very high number of layoffs going on locally, globally. The story is the same. There's high levels of unemployment. So for you who's an employee or employed to be somewhere, this is the time to show value. I think 2020 was a good time. We were able to relax a bit from the high pressures of the employment world. But 2 years later, you can't still be in the same position. You must put your best foot forward so that you show your value to the employer. And where there are cases of retrenchments, they can be able to say, no, this one is indispensable. As you go through your work life, it's good to know what's happening in the economy. You need to be alert. Don't be surprised when you hear the company is going through tough times and your salary is impacted. I find people tell me that they're surprised that their employer has not been able to pay them a salary. And I'm like, that didn't happen overnight. Your employer is not able to pay your salary it wasn't a decision that was made on the table. It means that it was a series of things that has happened that has led to the cash grant that they're unable to pay you. So keep your ear on the ground. Business owners, you need to talk to your suppliers, explain to them your situation or what the next 1 year looks like. Talk to your clients. Important to emphasize the importance of paying you on time so that you have a good cash flow. Make yourself marketable for employees. That's your CV. Engage your networks and seek opportunities, because if you can increase your income by changing jobs, it's a good plus for you. Also, most important, regardless of whether you're a business owner or an employee, is create multiple sources of income, right? If there's anything we've learned during COVID, is that it was good to have multiple sources of income so that when one was impacted, you had another source of income coming through. But as we talk about multiple sources of income, and I'll talk about this specifically to the employed people like me, it's important to understand what is your primary source of income and what is your secondary source of income. So if your primary source of income is your job, you need to allocate more time to it. It can never be that your side business is getting more time than your job. Yet, the day you lose your job, your side business has not grown to the level that is able to sustain your lifestyle. So never confuse your primary and your secondary sources of income. Your primary source of income continues to get most time from you unless in the future you're looking to transition from employment to self-employment, right? So we can still do something about income. Let's look at spending. And this is the toughest, but it's where we can make the fastest change. It's very hard to move your income, right? It depends with the customers, it depends with your employer. So the easiest thing that we can change as individuals is how you spend. In this day and age, it's easier than the rest, because also right now, the way the prices of things are going up, I've spoken to so many people and everybody's saying my spending on just basic needs has moved, has doubled, or has, depending on the size of your family, could have tripled, right? And when I talk about basic needs, I'm talking about food, shelter, those things that you must pay at the end of every month. Those have moved dramatically, right? So we are now not saying, can I be able to get an extra 2,000? We are saying, I need an extra 10,000 just to be able to meet food and the basic needs for my family. And so if you look at your budget or you look at the way you spend, the biggest question is to ask yourself, where can I compromise? Where can I cut back on spending? I will not lie, it is a very hard discussion. Nobody finds it easier to cut back in such times, right? In such time, meaning that I need to unlock another 10,000, another 15,000. And if you are a parent in the Kenyan system of 844, you're paying school fees every 2 months. Did you realize we're paying school fees every 2 months? So now we are paying, there's some expenses that are coming sooner than we had planned for. Thank goodness things will go back to the normal school calendar next year. But this year, of everything that's going on, we do have the issue of I need to pay school fees every 2 months. Right? So it means we must take drastic action if we don't want to get ourselves in debt or unable to pay school fees for our kids. Right? So when we look at spending, cut back on spending. And I am not talking about penny pinching or deriving yourself from the things that give you joy. So it's important to stick the things that give you joy. But it's conscious spending decisions. So the other day, one of the things I started looking at is the brands I buy when I go to the supermarket. And I realized I've been loyal to brands that have been there for the longest of time. Right? Because my mother used them. They have been there, they have a legacy, they are known in Kenya, yet there are new brands that have come that are 100 bob, 200 bob cheaper. I was quite amazed. I was not conscious about it, but then I realized I could save money by looking at cheaper options that are also, of course, you must test the quality, but if the quality is good, I'm definitely going to change to cheaper commodities. At the end of the day, don't forget that you still must have fun within the current means. It doesn't mean that you are going to derive yourself or starve yourself from entertaining yourself, spending time with family and friends and having a good time. It's so hard to manage your money when you're doing it from a place of lack and no joy. So you must have fun in your life. You must have some fun money. So still have fun, but now you may need to change the way you have fun so that you can be able to afford it. So these discussions, if you're in a family situation, you can't have those discussions alone. You can never make changes about a family alone. If you've tried, I'm sure you can say you have failed. If you are married, you must engage your partner. Your partner must be aligned. You can't be wanting to manage your expenses and me as your spouse, I want to still live the soft life, right? It won't work. So we must have those hard discussions and tell me, baby, I think there's certain things we need to talk about. Yeah. Even with your children, you must tell them, you know what, you've been enjoying these things. We must look at it. Like one hardest discussion I had with my daughter is pizza is expensive. She's the one who eats pizza, and she likes the big pizza. And I told her the big pizza is about 1,200. If it's been delivered to your house, it's 1,500, right? Yet there are cheaper options like KFC. And I told her, so once a week when you have your treats, you need to consider other cheaper options because pizza is getting more expensive. And of course, their kids, they want to eat some sweet things, and naturally we also want to treat ourselves once in a while. You see, the key in looking at your expenses is looking at your goals, right? If you don't have a goal, you will not see the joy of reducing your expenses. So as you look at cutting back on other things, just know this is what I see in future. This is what it means to me in future. And you will see the way you're motivated to stick to your new budgets. When it comes to paying debts, yeah, even in these tough times, you need to stay on top of your debts. You don't stop. Because if you stop making repayments or you start making late repayments, it will increase your financial burden in future. Now, if you're someone who has no income, possibly you are laid off, or you are two-income family, now you're a one-income family, or you are just one by yourself and now you have no income, you are trying to pick yourself up. Of course, if you have any debts, you need to engage your lenders to see what they can, what new arrangement they can draft for you. Lastly, we look at savings and investing. Remember what I said, saving means just putting money aside, but putting money aside will not grow you wealth, right? You need to let that money grow, and that is through investing. And when we are going through such times, such hard times, it's easier to cut back on your savings. I mean, it's the simplest thing. Let me just continue spending, let me pay my debts, then let me reduce or not make any savings. It's the easiest. You and I can, if I was to ask you in the chat, you'll agree. It's easier for me to cut back on savings and investment, but it is not recommended because it will impact your goals. And I like what you said, you're not going to change your goals. Your goals are still valid. So then it looks at how can I balance to make sure that I still save and invest. Now, the biggest lesson that we should have learned over the last 3 years from COVID to now is the importance of an emergency fund. Like it cannot be overestimated. It cannot be overemphasized. We, as Kenyans, I know we never see the value of emergency funds. Emergency funds is Fuliza or Atala, micro loan, mobile loan, all those mobile loan apps that we can borrow quickly. Our emergency fund is borrowing from our friends and our family. But now you must try to be self-sufficient. And I just tell people, just start with 1,000. Start with 1,000. When things get better, move to 1,500, move to 2,000, move to 2,500. Yeah, and then build that emergency fund so that you live life with the knowledge, knowing that if I had an emergency. Hi, Waithaka, hi.
You're still there. Keep going. Keep going.
All right. Sorry, I lost power, so I just needed to make sure that I'm still online.
Yes, we are still hearing you. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So I was on the emergency fund, and I was saying that we must be self-efficient to take care of our emergencies. And you can start from where you are, build it over time. There is no deadline that I must build it over 3 months. You can build it over time and know that anytime I have an emergency, I have something or a kitty that will assist me. During such hard times, it's better to say, no, this is not the time to invest. Things are thick. But here's the wisdom that there is no better time to start saving. Even in tough economic and market conditions, it's still a good time to invest because there are opportunities. Remember, I said there are also opportunities in tough economic conditions. So if you already invested, do not take money out of your market. I'll talk about this because I know the pressure is, let me take money, let me put it where it will stay the same value, but I'll then show you how that is not the good thing to do. As you invest, and especially during these tough times, you must have a diverse. In Centonomy, we say that as you come to take 101, the goal is at the end of it, you will be able to invest in different types of investments. So we are no longer talking about, oh, I love property, I'm only going to invest in property. No. Or I love shares, I only invest in shares, I only invest in crypto, The thing with somebody who's growing wealth or who is looking to achieve wealth is that you must have a mix of assets, because assets behave differently in different times, and I'll show you that in the next slide. So you want to make sure that you have that mix that can take care of you regardless of the financial conditions. So my last 2 slides is how do we invest in the current times? Right? And the biggest fallacy is that we need to hold that money in cash. I know naturally that's what we want to do. We want to withdraw from all those investments. Let me keep my money in my accounts. Let me be checking the account balance. The account balance is still the same. So we feel I'm not losing money. Here is the surprise. You are losing money because of inflation. Remember my slide on inflation. Inflation is our biggest threat today. So if I'm putting just, let's say, 10,000 in my bank account, 10,000 today, it's 10,000. At the end of the year, it's still 10,000. I have actually lost the purchasing value of that money, right? And so we say that if you put your money in cash, know that yes, your money is still there. You can see it. You can have control. It makes you happy. It gives you a sense of security. But know that you have lost value for that cash. So in a high inflation environment, holding money in cash means that you're losing value, but now at a higher rate. So don't think of cashing out during this time when the market have dipped. Yeah, because in most cases, if you're cashing out, you probably bought that investment at a higher price, and now you're selling it at a lower price. You never buy something at a higher price and sell in the lower price. Yeah. In our little knowledge of business that we know, regardless of where you come from, I think we can all say you buy low and you sell high. So in this kind of environment, if you're selling, it means you bought high and you're selling low. And it's the worst thing you can do in terms of your investments. So sometimes you need to be careful as you read online. There's a lot of things about investing cash. But when most investment managers mean investing in cash, it actually means investing in mere cash assets. It doesn't mean keeping the money in an account that is not earning any interest, right? It means investing in mere cash investments, meaning you can easily convert them into cash, but the money is still growing. So let's look at the different investment options and how they are behaving in this time and how you take advantage of them. So I'll start with shares and equities or stock. So whenever you hear shares, equities, or stock, it simply means that you own a piece of a company. You are a shareholder, or you own shares in a particular company. So if you've invested in Safaricom through shares, it means you own a piece of Safaricom. I talk about Safaricom because it's the most known in terms of listed companies in Kenya. So if I'm investing in KCB through shares, it means I own a piece of KCB. If I'm investing in Amazon, it means I own a piece of Amazon. If I'm investing in Meta, it means I own a piece of that company. So that company is a business just like any other business with business opportunities. So because of our current economic conditions, and remember, these businesses are operating in an economy. Our investments is usually in businesses, and these businesses are operating in an economy. So whatever happens in an economy will affect those businesses, will affect our investments. So what have we seen? Share prices, of course, have dropped, right? It's not good if you are an investor who was holding those shares, but currently the losses are paper losses. You've not actually realized that loss. It just shows that in your statement, I bought Safaricom at the last value of my Safaricom was probably 42, and now it's come down to 30 something. Yeah, so it's just a paper loss. But if you sell, you actually realize that loss. So now when market prices are low for shares, it's a good time to buy because you buy low and you sell high. And here is the thing, the markets will recover. The market will always recover. 2022 is not going to be any different. If we look back all the way, markets always recover. Markets are cyclical. They will always go up and down. So even when we go through a dip, you as an investor should know the markets will always recover and I will be able to make my gains. So let's look at bonds. Bonds simply means lending to a government or lending to a business, right? So it's just like a bank loan. The way you go and apply for a bank loan, the bank gives you a loan. So the same way with bonds, we are giving the government money and the government says, yes, for giving us your money, we are going to pay you interest at this level. Similar, right? So because it's an interest earning investment, if we're in a high interest rate environment, and that's where we are, whenever there's high inflation, there is high interest rate environment, then you as an investor benefits investing in this environment. High inflation means high interest, and it's good for me who's a bond investor because I'm getting relatively high interest rate from my investments. And so we expect this high interest rate environment to remain until inflation is tamed. So one of the things the government does to manage inflation, because I can tell you our government does not like inflation going above 7.5. We have already hit that limit. So what they are working very hard to do is make sure that they bring down inflation. And one of the things they do is they start pushing interest rates up. So it means when I lend money to the government, they have the appetite for borrowing. And therefore, just like anybody who is desperate to borrow, what will they do? They will accept high interest rates. So we're in a good environment. I think one of the recent bonds that went to the market at 13.9%. Where are you going to get 13.9%? Yeah. So there is a lot of appetite for bonds right now because of the interest rates that investors are getting. Let's look at what I was referring to near cash investments. So when you hear cash and near cash investments, we are talking about short-term investments. These are Treasury Bills, which is still that you're giving money to the government, but for a shorter duration, usually less than 1 year, putting the money in a bank deposit. So bank deposit is different from a savings account. This is where you give your money to the bank and you negotiate for an interest rate. So for holding the money, they will pay you a return. And also money market, mutual funds, money market, unit trusts, right? So these are near cash investments, so they're easy to convert to cash, especially money market unit trusts, because, or mutual funds, is the same thing, regardless of where you are in the world. Money market mutual funds, money market unit trusts are the same. And many of us have put our money in money market funds. It's the one investment that has grown drastically from 2020. People have been packing their money in money market funds for emergency, because currently we are in a high interest environment, so you're getting good returns. So it's good to take advantage of where the market is at the moment. They are low risk, so the chances of losing your money is low, and you earn interest, although the interest is lower than for bonds. Bonds tend to be long-term, 2 years and above. Treasury bills, bank deposits tend to be short-term, less than 1 year. Lastly, on property, mixed feelings in the property markets. It depends sometimes with the property developer you're speaking to, but where you can make gains in the next year or two depends on your location, future economic development prospects of that area, and the demand. Is this a place that will have demand? They will be looking for, there are people who will be looking to stay there, or businesses that are looking to set up. That should guide you on whether that area is a good investment. Currently, what we are seeing, common message is that landlords who have properties in the low-income areas are able to get better returns than those who are in middle-end and high-end areas. But also in the middle end, there are pockets of location where people are getting very good returns, such that, like South B. I think if you've been to South B recently, you've seen what is happening there. Those investors are claiming that they're getting very good returns from that area. So it's pockets of good returns depending on your location. But in most cases, generally, most areas have been reported a stagnant growth in the property market. So in conclusion, don't change the goal. Stick to your goals. You just need to change the plan. And in this time, it's a defensive strategy. We have seen that economies and investment markets are cyclical. They will always be ups and downs. That is something now we must contend with. And that's the reality we face. So develop the skills to manage your finances during hard times. Remember, I say, just as we protect our security of where we live, we put efforts to protect our health, we also must do the same to protect our finances. So it's about your current and your future you. You know, what you earn today is not just about today and this month. Yeah, what you earn today is supposed to help you today and you in future. So your earnings are never just about living through. It's about taking care of myself today and in future. So even as we protect our financial position, we know I'm working for me today and me in future. Review your personal situation and make changes relevant to you and your family. Let me tell you right now, peer pressure will kill you. You know, you look at your friend and you're like, am I the only one who's suffering? Right? But we are not talking. I actually feel we need to talk so that I can feel that I am not the only one who's going through this. And so my friend will tell me, you know, this is what I've done and it has worked. Maybe you can try. So we need to have such conversations. So today, if you're meeting your friends for a coffee, if you're meeting your friends for a whiskey, please have this conversation. Tell them what are you going through right now, and what are the things you are doing to manage this situation. So regardless of the tough times, you must continue to save and invest, right? So for you to achieve your financial goals, it's consistency, planning, and reviewing. Be consistent, even if it's 1,000, be consistent with that 1,000 or $10 per month. Yeah, be consistent, plan your investments, and always review. Just don't let your investments stay just because I hold property, just because I have shares. You can't just sit and say, okay, I'm a shareholder, I have numerous properties, and that's it. You won't make a return if you don't review your investments and the returns they are making, and how you can rebalance in the depending on the current financial times. Investing is a long-term game. So even when you go through dips, you don't need to be stressed. Manage your stress, do a lot of self-talk, look at articles, and you will see we are all going through the same thing. So understand that markets will always go through dips and they will always recover. And lastly is you must diversify. Build a mix of different investments, understand those investments, and have skin in the game. Right? You will never grow wealth. You will never get to a position of financial security without investing. So it's time for you to get out of your comfortable seat or from your comfort zone and start investing. Yes, we've learned that we will go through periods of stress when markets are not performing well, but even then, there are opportunities. So I encourage all of you, let's have the discussions. Yeah, look at how you can protect your financial position. Look at how you can manage from your income. How do you adjust your spending? How you need to rebalance your investments, take advantage of what opportunities this market will bring. And with that, I will come to a stop. And Waithaka will guide me in terms of questions. I will.
Yes, I will.
Then respond to them.
Yes. Well done. Guys, let's put our hands together for Kanza. Amazing presentation. She's simplified so many things that we had not thought through. So Kanza, can we just go real quick through some of them, the questions? This is Esbon who's asking, is saving in a SACCO an investment?
Okay, do I take them one by one?
Yes.
All right. We save, the main reason, the primary reason why we put our money in the SACCO is so that we can get a competitive interest rate when we borrow compared to banks. That's the main reason, right? Yeah. But you can take advantage of that arrangement for investing, because at the end of the day, when you put your money and it's being used by other members who borrow and they pay interest, if you are getting a return, let the return stay in the SACCO. Whenever you retain your return in the SACCO, then it becomes a good investment option. But for many of us, when they declare that return at the end of the year, like, please pay me, do not hold back.
Yes.
Then that doesn't work as an investment. You should know that I'm using the SACCO just for borrowing at a good rate. But if you want to make it an investment, that deposit, that return they pay you on your deposit, that dividend that they pay you on your shares, let it stay and grow, and in that way it becomes an investment.
Kanza, in the Centonomy 101 program, we talk about it as being a compounding return. And compounding only happens in a situation in which you don't remove the interest or the return you have earned. And that's often one of the issues. Well done for articulating it that way. So it loses that compounding effect if every time you're withdrawing the returns that are coming through. Well done. What are some examples of near cash investments?
Okay, near cash, Treasury bills. Remember I said Treasury bills is when you're lending money to the government, but for less than 1 year. So we have from 91 days, which just means 3 months, 182 days, and 1 year. Then you have bank deposits where you go and negotiate for a fixed return on the deposit with your bank, as well as money market unit trusts. So I haven't spoken much about unit trust, but should you join the 101 class, we will speak about unit trust in detail. But for purposes of short-term investments, it is money market. Money market funds will invest with in treasury bonds, they'll invest in bank deposits. And because they have huge sums, somebody who's going to negotiate with 100 million will get a better rate than who is going to negotiate with 100,000. So that's why it's advisable where you want to invest in near cash. My own recommendation is always money market unit trust because of economies of scale.
Yeah. Here's a powerful question that came through. Somebody's asking, what is an emergency fund, Kanza? It was a very simple, that's Mercy who was asking that.
All right. And maybe I should remove the word fund, but emergency funding means you're just putting money aside for emergencies. And if I was to ask all of you here, list emergencies that have happened this year, we can all say, nobody has survived from January to August without an emergency. You probably had an accident, your roof has leaked, or something has broken down in your house. Emergencies are always happening. So that you don't destabilize your spending plan and your savings, always try to put some money aside every month so that as it accumulates and an emergency happens, you can dip into that. Sometimes an emergency can be 100K, right? You've already started spending your monthly income, and depending on your salary, you may not have that money available. But you've been saving this money aside to cater for emergency. So it must be separated. There are also ways that you will learn in the Centonomy 101 class how to manage your investment funds. They can be invested like the way I'm investing for long term. Yeah. Emergency funds must be those that can be easily accessible when an emergency happens.
Kanza, there's this question just talking about endowment policies for 10-year periods. Is it a good plan?
So this is my personal opinion. Insurance. Okay, what I know, because I've been in the insurance and the pension space, and my personal opinion. So insurance are to offer financial protection when things go wrong. Just like emergencies, when things go wrong, they will take a huge knock that your monthly or your income may not be able to take care of it. So insurance protects you from that financial loss. So let's look at a car. If you take insurance and you pay premium of about maybe 20,000, now the Kenya minimum is 40,000, and you have an accident, your car is probably what? 1 million, right?
Yeah.
The insurance company will compensate you that 1 million to protect you from that financial loss. So insurance is always about protecting you from a financial loss. Now, what has happened is that there are different policies in the market, especially those that are on a life. Even when I pass on, there's some form of financial loss because my family will lose my income. You can never replace somebody, but you can replace their income. So in life insurance policies, such as education policies, endowment policies, life insurance policies, they try to compensate the lost income when somebody passes on. So they have tended to provide the insurance aspect and the investment aspect, just because you're going to pay money for a long period of time. So there must be some element of return. I personally don't take my daughter's education policy as an investment. I take it as an insurance. It's supposed to protect her. In case when something happens to me, they're able to compensate for the income I was putting aside for her education.
Sound advice, and here's something that to think about. When you look at investments, it's always we like to say this in the Centonomy class, that the best investment is the one that matches your goal, because people are always trying to see, is the right investment the one that will give me high returns? Is it the one that will give me security? Is it the one that will ensure me? And we talk about it and say the best investment is the one that matches your goal. There are certain goals, like, as you said, education, which you want some level of security, but you also want growth over time and protection. So then you pick the investment that matches that. Really good, Kanza. One last question, and this one is in your wheelhouse. This is Abigail. She's saying, I'm 26 years old. Is it the right time to start saving for my retirement? And what are my investment options towards that?
Okay. Yes. The best time to start taking care of the future you is today. Your future you don't know what will happen in the future. Yeah, you touch wood that nothing happens. But reality is, one, we are going to retire, so we won't be as productive. And also, I know retirement has changed in terms of definition. So let me talk about retirement from the sense that I am not as productive, right? That time will come, right? Sickness comes. There are so many things that come on our way as we go through life. So the best time to start saving is not when my salary has reached another level, but with the little, as long as you're earning an income. That's what I like to say. As long as you're earning an income, you are ready to start saving. Yes, you are saving for short term. So you're also going to plan your savings with time, with emergency. You're going to take about your short-term goals. Short-term goals meaning your education and such, your children's education. And then there's a long-term goal like retirement. With retirement, the earlier you start, the better, because of what Waithaka talked about, compounding interest. You start saving earlier, you don't need to save that much over a long period of time. So compared to somebody who's saving for 10 years, is retiring and has only 10 years to save, compared to you who's 26 and you are planning to retire at 60 and you're starting at 26. You only need to start saving with something small, and then the rest will be returned. Can you imagine saving for 40 years, how your money will have grown compared to somebody who's just saving for 10 years and all things are held constant, let's say salary, retirement age and all that. So the best time to start saving and investing is today. As you save, you are connecting your investments with a goal. We just don't invest. Let me just invest because let me just know. The only way you can be a successful investor is if you link your investments to a goal. So if I am saving for my retirement, I have a vision of how I want my retirement to look like. If I am putting, let's say 2,000, let's say I'm putting 10,000 aside every month, I can work out in my mind that from this 10,000, let me put 1,000 for my emergency fund, 2,000 goes to my pension, and the rest goes to my short-term to medium goals, right? So my emergency fund is then being invested, let's say, in a money market fund. So then every time I look at that money market fund, I'm like, this is to take care of my emergencies. So I'm comfortable there. I feel a bit secure. Then I look at my 2,000 and I look at my statement and I visualize this is the kind of retirement I want. I don't want to depend on my children because children are no longer going to be your retirement plan. I don't want to be a burden to my family and my society. Those are some of the things you connect your investment goals to your investment. Then with the rest, you are looking at, I want to take my kids to a good school. I want to make sure that I can pay until their masters or their undergrad. I want to live in a home I'm comfortable with, in a location that I want. So connect your investments to your goal and you will see that you're able to stick it in the long term.
Wow. Kanza, I want to echo Thomas Omeno's sentiments in the chat. Thomas has said there that, Kanza, you are very resourceful. Thank you very much. I love listening to you all the time. Personally, you can see I have been taking notes. I have been writing down all of markets will bounce back. A business owner, please remember that you're looking for that profit. But as you come into the Centonomy program, you learn that profit is not your money. Employees, I like the way you said that, Kanza, that you need to have your source of income. Employee, become more valuable in times like this so that you are not the one who's going to be let go even as you go through that time and you actually advance in your career. Negotiate with suppliers. Kanza, me, I was taking notes. I'm serious. Make sure you are guarding your primary source of income. Make sure that's where you're putting your biggest effort as you go. And as you were talking about the issue of budgeting, ladies and gentlemen, people often think when you come into the Centonomy 101 program that it is a budgeting program. We talk about budgeting for 15 minutes in the first session out of over 30 hours of content because it's a primary source of, it's a primary tool in our planning. But it's budgeting. Many times, Kanza, people think that budgeting is about cuffing yourself that you can never do anything. There's no joy. Actually, we talk about budgeting as showing your priorities. Your budget shows you what matters to you. And it's really powerful to be able to see if I can take control of my money, what I can be able to do. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Kanza Musyoka. She's amazing. You should see her in the class. When she's speaking to you for 3 hours, 2.5 hours, we've only given her 20 minutes today. It's a life-changing experience, and we really appreciate you, Kanza. You can hang out. Try and look through the Q&A. If you can be able to respond, there are too many to answer in the time that we have right now. So if you can respond to a couple of them as we go, we'd really appreciate that.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you all for your engagement and your questions. It's good to see such a good turnout. So this is a timely topic. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, as we continue in this session, I want to encourage you because here's the thing, as Centonomy, we want to empower you with the knowledge that you're receiving today, but we cannot do on a 2-hour webinar on a Saturday, we can't be able to communicate the full power of what you go through in the Centonomy 101 program. This is where the real transformation actually happens. And when we are speaking about these things, it is so important for you to begin to see that it is a holistic view when we talk about strategy. Because like any game, investment and growth and wealth creation is a game. What does that mean? There are rules, there are goals, there's a way that you can win, there are ways that you can be able to lose. And I think all of us are very familiar with what that looks like. All of us are able to say, hey, you can tell when somebody is winning in the wealth game, isn't it? Can you tell when somebody is losing in the wealth game as well? So we want to be able to understand and to say, hey, in this wealth creation journey, do you have the strategy for success for winning in this game? So if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, have a look at that screen. When you come into the Centonomy 101 program, which will be starting this September, we are looking at it holistically. I see all the questions that are coming up in the chat box, and thank you to everybody who's on social media. We see you there, Bernard, Beatrice on YouTube, and other places that are there. We are grateful for you. We see questions like, which investment will give me 10% return? And that's a good question. I will agree with you, or 10% and more return. But remember what we said, the best investment is the one that matches your goal. So why are you looking for a 10% return? Because if you don't understand that, then you can find an investment that's giving you a 10% return, but it doesn't match your goal. Let me give you an example of that, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about, and Kanza is one of the trainers who will take you through this, the investment in treasury bills and bonds. So here's the thing. Yet again, do we understand how the investment works? So she mentioned that some of the bonds are offering over 13% in this market today, government bonds that are on offer here in Kenya specifically. Now, what she was unable to cover in the whole session that we were going through is that 13% is not compounding. In fact, when you hear about government bonds, they are often called fixed income securities. What does that mean? That the interest or return that you earn on that bond is paid out to you in cash. It doesn't remain in the investment and compound on itself. So it is a powerful tool, the government bond, but if you're putting your money there thinking that it is going to compound at 13%, you might be shocked that a money market fund, maybe that is compounding at 9% over a 10-year period of time, might result in even a higher return over time, simply because of the compounding effect. So you are looking for an investment that is written 13%, right? But the result that you are looking for was growth. Are we together? If we do not understand the investment strategies, and we don't understand the investment instruments, and we don't have a goal, then ladies and gentlemen, doesn't matter how much we shout from the rooftop, cryptocurrency, fixed, what are they called? A foreign exchange, investing in foreign markets. I saw that question in here. People are wondering, how do I invest in a foreign market? But the question is again, why? What is the benefit of being in a foreign market rather than being in your own? What are the risks and what is the return that you are looking to actually get? So ladies and gentlemen, it is not simply about saying which one is 10%, which is the most secure. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, security is not the only outcome that you're looking for. Can I illustrate this a little bit using something that we are maybe a little bit more familiar with? So let's take a moment here, ladies and gentlemen, and try and plot out some of the things that may help us to see that we cannot have one view on our investment and saving strategy in an environment like this. Remember, we are not changing the goal. The goal remains the same. What has to change is the plan. So let's have a look at this, if you don't mind for a second. I want to ask you, if we're playing a game of soccer or football, as we call it here in Africa, I'm going to use football because I don't know that we have too many Americans who are present with us. Those are the ones who we need to assist them to understand what soccer is, football is. So we're going to talk about football, and I'm going to take your help, if you don't mind for a second. So football, okay? When we play the game of football, ladies and gentlemen, what is the aim? What is the aim of the game of football? At least this is something that we know in general. What is the aim of the game of football? The chat box, real quick, wherever. To win. Excellent. So the aim of the game of football is to win. Good. Excellent. I agree with you, Lydia. It is to win. How do you win in the game of football? How do you win? How do you win? So thank you very much. You score more, more goals than your opponent. Good. Score more goals than your opponent. I have never played football. How do I score? Can you see this? Look at this. Somebody already was giving me this. I can't see who it was. Somebody was saying, putting the ball in your opponent's, no, you said in the net. Putting ball in the net. Okay? Whose net? Your opponent's net. You see, it's important to define opponent's net. Okay? Good. And then ensuring that they don't put the ball in your net. Okay? Now, what did we have to start off with to put together the strategy to win this game? The first thing that we needed to do, and please write this down if you can as we are going along, is first understand the rule. And here's the thing, if you don't know the rules of the game, then we're going to struggle in building our wealth creation journey. Can I give you an example of this? So for many of us here in Africa, one of the things that we've been taught is that we've been taught own land or own property. And one of the main properties that we have been told to do is to own our own home, right? So we've been told that. So in this game called life, the financial game, we've been told, ladies and gentlemen, own land and especially own your own home, okay? Own your own home. Own your own home. Why? Can somebody type in the chat box, whichever chat box that you have in the social media or here on Zoom? Why should you own your own home? What is the benefit of owning your own home? What is the goal of doing that? What is the outcome that you're becoming? Let's go. Great. So the first thing that we're often hearing is not paying rent, right? So now you're not paying rent. Great. But my question to you is this. So good. So there's no sense that you're paying out a rent amount. For if you own your own home, thank you so much. And I've seen somebody else there. Capital appreciation. Capital appreciation. That is that the value of the home, the property increases. Great. The value of the property increases over time. So those are two benefits. So not paying rent. So let's address these two. Look, there are many others, and we're going to have a discussion about them even as we go along the way. But here's the way that I want us to think about it. Good. So I own my own home. I'm living in it. Okay? I'm living in it. Do I live in this house for free? Let's be serious. Let's be serious. Is it free to live in your own home? Not at all. So and this, ladies and gentlemen, I told you this has come up over and over and over again. And it has caught people's attention that we have not been able to see this very clearly. Because of this whole thing where we have been taught own your own home, own your own home, own your own home, people buy their own home. But they don't have the strategy of how to sustain their life in their own home. Because they thought, if I own their own home, I don't pay rent, therefore it is free. But it is not free to live in your own home. You often pay taxes on that home. You often paying to maintain that house. If there's a problem with the pipes, you don't have a landlord to call to come and fix that. You are the one who's going to take care of that house. So it is, yes, it saves you paying rent, but it does not save you all the money of living in your own house. Because in that house, you have to, yes, you minimize expenses, but money still comes out of your pocket. Can I prove this to you? Many of you in this room, hundreds of us in this room and hundreds of us listening on YouTube and other places are still sending money home to our parents who are living in their own home. Not only are many of our parents living in their own home, but they're even living on a farm. So you would think that they would be able to eat what they're living on. Isn't it? That was the idea of living on a farm and living in your own space. But you are still sending cash to them. Why are you sending cash to them? Why? Because there is an issue for cash along the way. And here's the thing, as Kanza was talking about, when we look at our goal, the goal is to live in your own home and have a comfortable retirement. Then listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, the home is a very good investment, but it is not sufficient. Why? Because guess what? As a response to this capital appreciation issue, we've dealt with the issue of rent as being first of it, the issue that is there. But this idea of capital appreciation, ladies and gentlemen, watch this. I own my own home. I'm living in it, the house that I'm living in. Okay. And guess what? It has gained in value over time. This is the thing. It has now, I bought it, let's say, at 2 million shillings. And after 10 years or 15 years, that property is now worth 5 or 6 million shillings. Okay, so I bought it at 2 million. It is now worth 5 or 6 million shillings, even as you go through that point of view. So now you're talking about a 4 million shilling growth in net worth. Powerful stuff, isn't it? Capital appreciation, good. But I'm living in that house, ladies and gentlemen. I'm living in it. So how do I get the 4 million that it has grown in? How do I get it, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat box? How do I, but it's my house, I'm living in it. It has become 4 million shillings more worth. How do I get that from it? How do I get it? Lydia is telling me to rent it, but it's my house, I'm living in it. Collins is telling me to sell it, but it's my house. This is the one I wanted to live in. Wilson is telling me to lease it. I have sat and asked Kanza, we've been training so many different people, and we've talked about it in this retirement goals, and we talk about it and telling a retiree, please move out of your house. You retiree, please move to an Airbnb. Make it an Airbnb so that you have people who are coming into your place continuously, people who are, please, ladies and gentlemen, all of you who are giving me this advice, go and tell your parents who are living in their own house, please, these rooms, make them Airbnbs. The problem is, and I love the idea, I love the way that you're talking about this. Seriously, I'm talking, you have an idea, but I want us to begin to think, look, we must first of all understand the rules. So what are the rules? And here's what we're talking about. Here's one of the rules. So the house that you're going to live in will save you some cash. It will save you, but it does not put money in your pocket. Now, if you're talking about a rule of financial freedom, which is what we're discussing here, then you need to build assets that are going to be giving you an income, putting money in your pocket while you're living in your own home so that you have financial comfort. But so long as the home is the primary asset that you have, you see that you're not playing by the rules of the game. And so you find somebody in exactly the examples that you're all giving me. I finished with my own house, but now I don't have anything else, so I have to sell it. Was that the goal? Listen, you guys, we said, are we changing the goal or are we changing the plan? Was the goal for you when you retire to sell your house, the one that you are happy, the one that you wanted to feel nice in? Was that the goal? Was it, ladies and gentlemen? Suddenly now you're saying we're changing the plan because you wanted to live in that place. So if you're going to live in your own house, then you need to have other assets outside there that are going to put cash in your money, in your pocket, so that you can live in that place. And so if we don't understand the rules, then we're going to find ourselves there. That's number one, understand the rules. Then we're not going to find, you're going to be kicking the ball on this soccer pitch, holding it with your hands, and you're being penalized and you don't know why, what is going on in that same space. Then number two, whoops, now let me go back to where we are. Number two, this is how practical we get in the Centonomy 101 program. After you have understood the rules, because look, if I told you, imagine you didn't know the rules of the game of soccer. You didn't know the rules. And I told you, here, let me tell you, if you kick the ball and you go inside that, and it goes inside that goal, you're going to win. So you pick it up and you try and run with the ball in your hands. Suddenly you're being penalized. Doesn't matter how much I told you, kicking it with an angle, kicking it on the side will make it curve. It doesn't matter how much I told you that. If you didn't know the rules, you're not going to get there. The next thing is you need to put together a strategy. And a strategy is another way of saying a plan. And the problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen, is that many of us are going to be talking to each other. And we're going to be asking after this session, we're going to be saying, which is the best? Is it a money market fund? Is it buying real estate? Which is the best place to buy real estate? Can we get into cryptocurrency? Why? You cannot put together a strategy if you don't know the goal. If you don't know, can you imagine playing in soccer and you think the game is just to pass the ball amongst each other? You will be destroyed. And here's the thing. Napoleon Hill says this in his book, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill said this, and he said that the player opposite you is time. If you joke around with it, he will wipe all your players off the board. He was talking about it like chess or checkers, right? And he was saying, when it comes to your finance, there is an opponent, ladies and gentlemen, in case you did not know, there is an opponent, and your opponent is called time. The unfortunate thing is, over time, this thing called inflation, did you hear what Kanza said? Kanza said, inflation is the overall increase in the price of goods and services over time. It is a fact of our economy. It will continuously be there. And so if you are not making decisions today, as far as time is concerned, your players will be wiped off the board. You cannot make a strategy if you don't have a goal. And here's the thing. You must have a strategy, ladies and gentlemen, for two things when you're playing in soccer. There are two things that you're going to do, moving forward and moving backwards. What do we call it in soccer in the chat box? Very quick. If you're going to go, the people who are going forward and the ones who are kind of making sure that the opponents are not coming, there are two names. What are they called in the chat box? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be awake. So we have what is called offense. Yes. And we have what? Defense. Let's describe this a little bit. Not double N, offense. There we go. Offense and defense. Now, here's the thing. Let me just speak to you because I recognize that this is some of the issues that people are looking for. When it comes to our investment strategy, attack and defense, offense and defense. Very good, ladies and gentlemen. So many times, and let me speak to the ladies because more than from research, not all ladies are the same and not all men are the same. I'm not trying to say that, but most of the time, when we speak to women's groups, when we talk to circles and different places, women are more savers. So they have what is called almost like a defensive strategy, what Kanza was talking about. So what happens here? Ladies and gentlemen, can you win a soccer game only defending? Can you win a soccer game by only defending? Yes or no? You cannot. Because if you're only defending and you're stopping the goal from coming in, then you're not scoring on the other side. Can I make that into a financial discussion the way we're having it? If I'm only saving, I am putting aside money, it is like a defensive strategy. If I'm only saving, I'm just putting money aside. That means my money actually, as Kanza was saying, is losing value over time. I'm not scoring on the other end, I'm not moving forward. And that moving forward or the offense, and let's talk about this here. The offense, sorry, we are talking about defense. Defense is like saving, just saving. Now, if you're only saving, can you win? No, because guess what's happening? That thing called time, remember, is your opponent, and time is going to score on you because of the effect of inflation. If you are not offensive, if you're not actually putting in the effort to score on the other side, and the offense as far as your financial concerns is now called investment. But here is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, and here's why strategy matters. You cannot do one thing at a time. And when you come into the Centonomy 101 program, we're going to assist you so that you have a holistic strategy. Now, here's the thing. Remember, we said, come out of your comfort zone. I had Kanza say this, come out of your comfort zone, because comfort can be, I'm saving, I'm just saving, I'm saving. Imagine it's going to take care of my future. No, it will not. And the same way as on a soccer pitch, if you're only defensive, if you're only holding, you can't score on the other side. So guess what? Some of your players have to go forward and try and score. What does that do to your defense? It does slightly reduce your defense. Remember, you are taking up more risk, because this is the thing that we're going to discuss when it comes to your investment strategy. You're taking a little bit more risk in order to get a return. So as you send people forward, It reduces the defensive strategy that you're going to have slightly, but it allows you to actually win. Now, can I speak to the men and the ladies who are more investment and risk inclined? What would happen, ladies and gentlemen, if everybody on your team is on attack? What would happen in such a scenario? Those of you who watch soccer, everybody is on attack, including your goalkeeper. What would happen to you if you're in that? You will lose, Rosalind. Thank you so much. Why will you lose the game? Because it only takes one moment for your opponent, which is time in this case, to run through. You can even kick the ball from one side because there's nobody guarding your goal. You are left vulnerable. And so here's the thing. When we come into a session like this, ladies and gentlemen, I see you talking about this. I see you asking those questions, and I get frustrated because I want to answer all the questions, but I cannot answer them in one of the smallest things that in a 2-hour session like this, where I have only 20 minutes to explain. I struggle and I'm pulling my hair out too much because I want to say you cannot do one thing at a time. You can't. You cannot defend only and expect to win. You cannot take an attack only and expect to win. You have to have a balanced approach to it. Now let's stop there. Let's stop there. Why is it, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to find out from you, why is it that certain teams, now, those of you who follow, if you follow soccer and you follow soccer around the world, watch this. There are certain teams that are consistently winning. Now watch this. All the teams know this, the rules of the game. All the teams have an offense and they have a defense. All the teams, in fact, have a team, they have the right goals, the clothes, they play on a pitch, they know everything about it. My question then next, ladies and gentlemen, why do some teams consistently win while others consistently lose? Coach. Somebody wrote it there. Let me see if I can find it there. Good management. Somebody said that. That is Omeja. Omeja said good management. Ludgard said strategy. Someone said coaching. Where is it? Who said coaching? Lydia said coaching. Now. Coaching does multiple things. What, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let me add something else here. Number 5. I'll put it under coaching. Okay. Now, 5A. What does a good coach first do? Before they even get on the pitch, what is a good coach going to do? What is one of their primary goals before they get on the pitch? What must they do? They have a plan. This is some, Kerubo has got it. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. Pick the best players. Now, the best players they can afford. Because you can't just, they can afford, right? Pick the best players they can afford for the strategy they want. Watch this. I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. You and everybody else in this room, we're 400 plus in this session. None of us is the same as the other person in the room. None of us is the same. Each one of us has our own strength. Each one of us has our own weaknesses. Each one of us is going to find ourselves in a different perspective. So listen to what I'm saying, because I'm coming to the end of what I'm doing here. And I want to invite our next speaker, Churchill. Be on the ready. I'm about to close this out. Ladies and gentlemen, picking the best players. Each one of us is different and differently endowed. If you try and follow my strategy for growth, for development, you'll find yourself in trouble. If you find yourself in a situation in which you are trying to do what I do, you cannot. But guess what? What you can do will be better than because you are different from me and all of us are unique, each one of us will be able to achieve a specific outcome if we manage ourselves within our area of strength. So if we're going to sit back and try and do what everyone else is doing, that is why it requires a holistic approach. Because if I am working on it by myself and I'm just trying to figure out what did Nani do? What did Mary do? What did Abigail do? Yes, it's good to understand, but Abigail and Mary cannot do what Waithaka can do. And so one of the things that we teach in the Centonomy 101 program is to ask you, what are your strengths? What are your abilities? So that your investment strategy is in line with that. Because when you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to follow, that's why we keep asking ourselves, and then we wonder why it is. Do you know today, ladies and gentlemen, that so many people are making a lot of money on quail eggs today? In Kenya, those of you who don't know, we had a whole craze on quail farming and quail eggs many years ago, because people had that, oh my goodness, there's great returns in it. But no one had done the research to find out, is there a market for it? Do you know the whole strategy? Do you know, people are making money on mushrooms today. People are making on exporting slugs and different things. But if you don't know that, you don't have the moringa craze, which is coming up even at this point. If you don't know it and it is not based on your skill set, then you're going to struggle. Let me give you an example, a personal example on investments like this. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother is doing a construction project and he's building some apartments somewhere. He has gone through the whole thing of going through contractors. He has fired a contractor. He has to drive there and everything. I don't have the ability to do that. He is going to succeed because he has that nature. He's a very methodical, he's a very, very practical, hands-on type of person. And so he's doing that. If I tried to do it, I would fail. So I did not follow the same strategy of building to get into real estate. I used a different strategy for our real estate project. We went onto an off-plan real estate project. Why? Because we said, guess what? Waithaka can talk for a living. He'll make money talking somewhere and use that money to pay someone to build and not have to worry about contractors, about lost cement, about all these different things. If you are trying to follow a strategy for someone else, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. So what are your best players when it comes to your investment strategy? Do you even have access? You know, some people are saying, can you tell me about cryptocurrency? Do you even have a crypto exchange where you are? People are going to ask me, what do you think about investment bonds? Do you even have a bonds account? And that's what we're trying to address. So once this person picks the best players, now what are they going to do after that? Now, why is it that some of the teams, as I said, are better than others when it comes to it? It is now putting them into a strategy that best suits them. Have you used what you have? Because if we are talking about, listen to this, this is another thing that if we talk about the idea of best players and the best opportunities that you have. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Do you understand that there are some investments that require more money than others? There are some investments that require a better understanding than others. You will never even hear about some of the investments that are coming in because you have never been exposed to them. And so if you don't have the exposure and you are not putting in the effort in order to release that, then what happens to you? Why it is difficult in a session like this to break all the scenarios down is because there are multiple scenarios and each one of us is different. And so you need a personal strategy. Please understand, you will not trip and fall and suddenly become wealthy. Even those who are playing with the lottery and playing with gambling because they're thinking that's what's going to come out and give the results they want, many of them are going to be dissatisfied and not achieve their goal because, first of all, winning is near impossible. And those who win because they don't have a strategy are going to fall apart. Some of you are wondering, how do I get into government bonds? Do you even know how much it requires to get into a government bond? Do you have the 50,000 or 100,000 shillings? Or in different markets, what is required? So now that you have what is in your hand, What is the best strategy for where you are right now? And for some of us, that may require, I need to increase my income in order for me to do the thing that I want to do. So it becomes a question about how do you better yourself? How do you begin to build the internal strength that is going to be there? And then C, matching the strategy to the current opponent. What does this mean for us, even as it comes to our current strategy that we're talking about here? Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. There are good times and there are tough times. And in tough times, you have to match your strategy to the opponent. Right now, we are dealing with hyperinflation, increase in products, goods and services, decreased economic activity. We're dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with a war in Ukraine. We're dealing with elections here in Kenya. There's multiple things happening. And so if you try and play the game, the financial game, like you were playing in 2019 when everything was going up and everything was growing and everything was, you will be destroyed. And the opposite is true. If you are in good times and you're not taking advantage of those situations, then you're going to find yourself in an extremely difficult position. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are playing this game to win, what is your strategy? I want you in the chat box to write down, what does winning mean for you in your financial journey? Quickly, quickly, quickly. What is winning? What does winning mean for you in your financial strategy as we go along? What does mean winning for you? Type quickly. Diversifying investments, but you have diversified investments. If you have a money market fund, you have some property and you have a savings account, you're there. Can I describe what winning means? Rita has got it, Tabitha has got it, financial freedom, and this does not happen by chance. Write this down. Wealth, the ability to live the lifestyle that you want without having to work. What does that mean? That you will build up assets that will put money in your pocket, whether you work or not. Secondly, it is built into the abundant life that matters to you. When we say the abundant life that matters to you, what matters to you? Because money will not make you happy, ladies and gentlemen. In case you didn't know, it'll help. And money is a good thing. Please understand, money is a good thing. But have you defined what the abundant life is? Is it leaving an inheritance for your children? Is it putting together a fund that is going to build a school that will help your local area? Is it raising Africa? Please, this is one of our missions here in Kenya. What is it that you want, ladies and gentlemen? And the problem that we have is because we never write it down and we never make it something that we're aiming for, we never will achieve it. Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every single time. Aim for something. Ludgard, is it impact? What is impact? Put it down on paper. Put it in front of you and say, what is the strategy that's going to get me from here to there? We have to stop thinking, ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you came into this session hoping to be told which is the best investment with the highest interest. Good. If I told you today, there is a government bond that is guaranteeing you 13.9% for the next 10 years. Good. What are you going to do with it? First of all, where do you find it? Is it a compounding investment? Is it going to help you in that way? No, no, no. Ladies and gentlemen, it is you to put together the strategy, and it's not one thing. It's not government bonds. It's not cryptocurrency. It's not just money market fund. Do you know how many funds there are out there in the world? But it is for you to know what is the rules of the game, what is my personal goal, the abundant life and the wealth that we have described that is going to put money in your pocket. Because if it is moving past that survival stage, then ladies and gentlemen, we must be strategic. And that is what we offer here in the Centonomy 101 program. It is the strategy for the life that you want to live. We want you to come in and understand how money works. Then we want you to understand how investments work. And then we want you to put that together into a plan, and that plan will begin to work as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't in a 2-hour webinar tell you all the various things that we're going through here. We want you to be able to come into that class. And so we're giving you a special offer today of only 500 shillings to register for the class. And then you can pay the rest in installments. But the classes start on the 7th, the week of the 7th of September, 6th, 7th of September. You only come into class once per week for 12 weeks. We have the class offered on Tuesday, on Thursday evenings, and on Saturday morning. So you have 3 options in the week. If in case you miss the Tuesday class, you come in on Thursday. In case you miss Tuesday and Thursday, you come in on Saturday. If you know you're going to be at a wedding or busy on Saturday, you come in for the Tuesday or the Thursday class. We know you're in a busy life, but you have to make the time for you to build the wealth that you want. You can pay the fees in installments. It's only, whoops, I made a mistake there. It's only 16,000, not 1,600, 16,000 for the first installment, 16,000 for the second one, and 12,500 for the third. And you can, that's paid monthly, so that it's as easy as you to be able to, for you to get into it. But what I want you to do is make the commitment today. We have reduced the registration fee from 1,500 for you only today, ladies and gentlemen. Today, register with 500 shillings. If you're outside of Kenya, that's $5 US. I'll give you the details of how to do it. And then we'll send you the details of how the class runs. And you'll be in class with amazing trainers like Kanza you've seen there. And it starts on that week. If you're in Kenya, you can pay via M-Pesa. The M-Pesa pay bill number is there, 986850. And what you'll do is put your name and the number 101 following it so that we know which class. And then we will follow up with you and send you all the details so that you can prepare for the classes coming up, and you'll see the life-changing experience that it is to be in the 101 program. It changed my life because guess what? I stopped thinking about just saving. I'm thinking about, remember, I stopped thinking about just defense. In any game, if you're going to win, you have to have a defense, you have to have an offense, you have to have a strategy, you have to put your best players onto the pitch to know which one is going to do. You're doing multiple things. Ladies and gentlemen, for the wealth creation journey, you must learn to multitask. And that's what the 101 program is so great at. I hope you've done that. Take a quick screenshot so you make your payment today and don't miss out. Those who are outside of Kenya, take a quick screenshot of this. The details are there on the screen, so you can pay that $5, and then we'll reach out to you and give you all the details as we prepare for the class in September. Ladies and gentlemen, in a session like this, and we're just about to hear from Churchill, who's an economist, we can share our thoughts in this session, but we cannot be able to coach and train you like we do in the class. So this is the time to make that commitment. I know everybody is holding, but if everyone is on defense, who is winning the game? Kanza said in times like this is a great time to take opportunities that are ahead of you because they are open for you. Take a screenshot so that you know what's coming through as we prepare ourselves to listen to Mr. Churchill Oduor. Churchill, I hope you're ready. I know that you have great information. Great, I can see you there. That is going to be life-changing for us to understand even as we go forward. Kindly, you can switch on your microphone. Churchill Oduor is an economist. He's also an IC asset manager with IC Asset Manager, and he is going to be sharing his perspective on this idea of not changing the goal. Churchill, did you change your goal in this season of difficulty?
No, I didn't change my goal, Waithaka.
So how do we achieve in a season like this?
We just ensure that we change the plan, but with the goal in mind. The goal that we had set initially, just stick to it, but now we just navigate through the various terrains that come along our way by just changing the plan, ideally.
Wonderful. Give us some ideas on how we change the plan. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So our theme is around change and how to go about it. And in life, the only constant thing that we have is change. That's the only constant thing. So we have on one hand to change the plan that we have, but to not change the goal that we have at the end of the day. So I'll walk us through I've been in the capital markets for over a decade. So I'll look at the various phases of my life. Right now, I've been introduced as an economist at IC Asset Managers, but that's at the tail end. But before that, I've been in the capital markets in various capacities, and I'll be able to share my experiences within the capital markets to ensure that even us stick to the goal of not changing the goal, but changing the plan. So I started off as initially, I started off as an advisor. I used to advise some of the clients, high net worth clients for context, who would invest in offshore investments. But here's the thing. Most of these clients invested even the pre-global financial crisis. That's something that happened in 2007, 2008, thereabout. So by then, it was as easy as throwing the dice. This is a period before crypto became a major currency, or it gained currency. Right now, everyone is talking about crypto, but that was the area whereby when you talk about offshore investment, it was basically investing not in Kenya, but investing outside the Kenya. So these clients had invested locally. Obviously, they had different instruments locally, but then as a way of diversifying, they invested offshore. But enter global financial crisis. Right now, even the theme of our session today is, in the current environment, how do we navigate it? But even this is not the first crisis that has happened. There have been a number of crises that have happened. Global financial crisis was one of them, for those of us who remember. So these clients had invested by then, before the global financial crisis hit the shore, but it was as easy as the returns were guaranteed. So when the global financial crisis came in, you find that most of the clients, there were two categories of clients. There are those clients who had invested lump sum in dollars, millions, thousands in dollars, but then they forgot about the investment because it was a no-brainer. Whatever they invested in, I mean, they could get the return that they had set in mind. So they totally forgot about those investments. But then there are those investors who will invest on a periodic basis. So around 2011, when we had this whole strategy of starting to engage with them, with the clients, but for the clients who had invested lump sum, it was like a shock to them, because they would come and tell us that, wait a minute, I had invested some money with you guys. So it was like a shock to them. So to us, it was like, okay, these people had a goal at some point, but then it faded away because of the crisis that happened in the year 2007 to 2008. But then there were those other categories of clients who would invest on a periodic basis. In as much as there was the down slump in those years, they still continued investing. Yeah. So this is for us to more or less like marry our goals, that we are in it for the long haul. During the investment horizon that we set ourselves into, we just have to take ownership of that investment that we have. So not to be on one hand as those people who have invested once and then forgotten about it, but be as those disciplined investors who will continually invest over the long haul, but still have that they have that latch onto the investments. So that is one of the things that I want to impress upon us, that if we have a goal in mind, we just have to be consistent and be aggressive towards ensuring that we achieve those goals. In my second phase, just to dovetail it in the other thing that I want to bring it to us on board, I became an analyst, and I would recommend, basically within the capital markets, we are more or less restricted within the stocks that Kanza talk about, and also the bonds. So in terms of recommending whichever investment to our clients, ideally, that also helps us to know what's happening within the global market and also within the local market. For instance, I would cover bonds, and what's bonds relate closely with what's happening in the macroeconomic environment. So for instance, if you are looking at investments, either within the bond segment, the unit trust, you have to have a better grasp of probably other factors that determine the drivers of the interest rates. Things to do like a monetary policy, what the Central Bank of Kenya, for instance, for those of us who are in Kenya, will do, or because those affect even the interest rates that investors ultimately will demand. So monetary policy. And the other thing is now on fiscal policy. I think if I talk about fiscal policy for people on the call, the budget is that one-day affair whereby we see the cabinet minister, cabinet secretary of finance with the briefcase and with the flower on the coat. But it's a process that starts in months before that particular event. So, and that entails the taxes. What are the tax policy and also the government spending? The government is the largest spender in any country. I know there are a number of people, other nationalities on this call, but whichever government that you are in or whichever country that you are in, that specific government is the biggest spender in that economy. So the fiscal policy, how the government spends, and also the tax policies also affect us. So we call it from a top down. What is happening on a macro level will also have an impact even in the investment decisions that we come across with. And probably just to have an overview of what's happening within the sectors, the different sectors between agriculture, trade, even finance. So it can ensure that you are a bit, you know, the nitty-gritties of, or you can even map out the direction where these sectors are getting into. So that's, and finally, also the business optimism. Right now, we know that we have an election next week, and probably people are still having a wait and see approach, or even from the business perspectives, probably they're just waiting and see who will be the next president. And then after that, they can now be able to continue life as normal. So those also affect our the optimism of businesses, and that should also be part of our investment decision, factored in within our investment decisions. So all in all, in terms of how I used to apply, even in terms of recommending whatever stocks or bonds, we can also apply even people of us who are on this call, so as to be nimble in terms of our investment decisions. Remember what Kanza told us, remember what Waithaka has told us, those, the defensive or being aggressive, but how we are able to allocate which are our defensive or which are our aggressive. It's basically, from how I look at it, from an economic perspective, is from those top-down factors. What's happening on the macro level and having an impact even here on the ground, and also we can be able to respond in a nimble way in terms of our investment decisions. Lastly, right now, as I am in an asset management firm, and what we do is we get monies and then we invest on behalf of clients. So as we interact with clients, obviously the clients, they usually have what is called the investment policy statement. So investment policy statement, that basically coalesces the goal of an investor. So there are a number of issues. I think there are 7 of them that we need to understand if we are coming up with that goal for the investment. First and foremost, that we all know of is the return objectives. So in return objectives, so probably you have $1 million shillings and you want by year 5 to have, say, 2 million shillings. So that means that every year you'll be earning just back of the envelope math, probably, and 1 million to 2 million. So 200,000 each and every month. So that tells you that the return objective is 20% for the next 5 years, so as to be able to get that goal of 2 million at year 5. So the return objectives is quite key. Are you looking at it in what you call nominal return? The nominal return is now the return without adjusting it to inflation. So if your return is 20% and probably the inflation return in a given year is 20%, and probably that inflation in that year is say 10%. So nominal return will be 20% and real return will be 10%, adjusting it to inflation. So which return objective do you have as an investor? So that should be part of, should fit into your goal. The other one is now risk tolerance, and that speaks to two factors: your ability to take risk and your willingness to take risk. So ability to take risk basically speaks to how wealthy you are as an investor. So probably you want to say high risk property development, but you don't have say 100 million. So obviously you don't have the ability to take that huge property development. And on the other hand, probably you have a willingness to take risk, but now that speaks to our behaviors or our personalities. So as individuals, we are different. Some people, I mean, it's easier for them just to take, something as simple as that Ferris wheel. They are just easy, but other people, they are not able to do that. So it just speaks to their personality. So, and also the same thing also gets into the willingness to take risk. Most people are not risk takers. Other people are risk averse people. So just to know where you fall in terms of the risk tolerance as an investor. The other thing is now time horizon. As you're investing, are you investing for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? So that you also need to keep it in mind. And with that, it will also ensure that you get appropriate instruments that will be able to match that particular time horizon that you like to invest into. The fourth one is now liquidity needs. Probably say you will want to invest, or your goal is now to say go to a holiday in year 5, or you want to plan for a wedding in year 10, or whatever goal that you like to achieve. So that means that there are liquidity needs that your investment should match these liquidity needs as they come due. So that you also need to keep into consideration. The other one is now tax consideration. We heard about the bond that has a return of 13.9%. That's an infrastructure bond. Infrastructure bonds, they don't have a tax component to it. So just to be aware, okay, is it, if I would like to get into this particular instrument, what are the tax considerations? Will I get a profit, but then there's a corporate tax for business people, which will now deplete whatever profit that you have, or whatever income that you will get, or there are other instruments that the tax considerations will help you even have a higher income. So those should be put into consideration. And obviously regulatory requirements, there are those things that keeps on changing, which, I mean, we have to be alive to that so as to be quite nimble. And also the unique circumstances, which is now right now in the current circumstances, whereby things just pop up. Those are unique circumstances. We haven't planned for them, but they just keep cropping up, or on an individual basis. Probably we might have some unique circumstances which may need to put in consideration. So all these factors, there are 7 of them: return objectives, risk tolerance, we have liquidity needs, we have time horizon, tax consideration, regulatory requirements, and also unique considerations. We tease them all together, and then with that, we can now be able to have a goal. And then after that, we can now come with specific instruments that we would like to invest into. And that now speaks to what we've had so far, the defensive and aggressive kind of strategy that we need to have. So probably you might now, to be a bit defensive in terms of investing, probably just to have those kind, more or less like a safer instruments, at least to ensure that you are able to solidify the gains, or just to protect the gains or protect whatever income that you may get from investments. And then you have those aggressive or kind of offensive strategies or portfolio allocation. So that will be pegged on the different kind of how you are able to answer those 7 points that we had addressed earlier before. Yeah. So as we get into the current state of the environment, so I think inflation is quite high to us, and I'll address that thing. And I'd like to bring some pushback, because most of the times I hear that people say that probably you may not invest into an instrument that has a return lower than the inflation. But here's the thing, gentlemen and ladies in this call, the inflation, for instance, in Kenya, the last inflation that we got was for the month of July. That was 8.3%. But that 8.3%, it means that if you had 1,000 shillings in July 2021, in July 2022, that 1,000 shilling has been eroded, its value has been eroded by 8.3%. But at this point in time, in the month of August, don't look at what happened in the past. You're investing in the future. So inflation to me is like something that has happened in the rear view mirror, but investing, you're looking at the front view mirror. So whatever happened in the past, happened in the past. What you are looking at right now as investing is in the future. I mean, it's in the future. So don't be discouraged that, okay, we're in a high inflationary environment, but as Kanza, as Waithaka earlier mentioned, that even if you invest, you'll be better off than somebody who doesn't invest. So for instance, the T-bill, 364-day T-bill, last year in July 2021 was around 7.8%. So an investor who invested last year, obviously, he got his 7.8% at the end of July this year. So in as much as the value was eroded by 8.3%, that inflation, he or she is better off than somebody who didn't invest. So that is the key point. So don't be discouraged because of the high inflationary environment. We just keep on investing. You are better off. Even I've just given an example of the T-bill, because that's the one which has the lowest return. But if you go on the spectrum, you can get much higher return. So don't be discouraged that, okay, let me just sit down, not do anything. Just keep on investing, because whatever investment you get yourself into it enables you that at the end of the investment horizon, you are better off than somebody who didn't invest. So that's the point that I would like us to take away from this presentation. And is there right now, is not investing even an option? Let me give you an example. I'm a bonds guy, so I can just give an example from Eurobonds. At the start of this year, the Eurobond that is maturing in 2024, that's for the Kenya, it had a yield of 5%. So for 5%, that meant that if you wanted to buy that Eurobond for every 100 shilling, probably you'll be forking 105 for every 100 shillings or 100 to the dollar. But right now, at some point in mid last month, the yield shot up to 21%. So by 21%, it essentially meant that for every $1, you'll be buying at 79 cents to the dollar. But so some people were now focusing on the glass is half full kind of view. So for them, it was like, okay, the yields have gone up, so let me just stick out. But probably for people who are, if you look at that risk tolerance, probably you'll just look at it from the flip side of it. Okay, if the yield goes up, probably I will just come in and buy at this point in time. Who knows? I mean, 2024, is just around the corner. The Kenya government may not even default on that Eurobond. So some people, as they were focused on the high rate that the government may default, other investors were a bit nimble, started buying. And right now, that Eurobond, the yield has gone down. So that means that even the price has gone up. And to be sure, from mid-July up until yesterday, when it last traded, some investors have gotten a return of 12%. So here is the thing, probably not focus on the headline negative numbers, but just try to seize the opportunities as they can be. People might be focused on the negatives. I mean, those are the things that take the headlines. But as an investors, I just need to flip it up and look at the opportunities that are there. So in this current state of the economy, not just in Kenya, but globally, this is the time that you can now be able to seize the opportunities. Whatever instrument that you might want to get into, be it stocks, be it property, you can find that you can get them at pretty much depressed levels. And that's the time to get in, and who knows what kind of return you'll be able to get, be it on a capital appreciation or even the income that probably you will not have earned if you start out by not investing. Let me stop there. Waithaka, hand it over to you.
There was a very good question that was typed in the chat box. Churchill, thank you so much for a great presentation. You are so knowledgeable. For all those who are worried, don't worry. This information is going to be on our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel as well. So in case there was something you missed, you can always come back and view it again, go through the notes and be able to see. Churchill, somebody was asking here and saying, is a bond return, that 13.9% you're saying, is that compounding or is it simple interest? How would you respond to that?
Okay, interesting question. So I don't know whether this is the platform, but I know that in the bonds classes, you can now get into the nitty-gritties. So ideally, the bond, the bond comes from the perspective that there's a lender and there's a borrower. So in this case, this 13.9%, the borrower is now the government of Kenya. So the government of Kenya is bonded to you as an investor, is committed that he'll be able to pay you each and every year 13.9% for that particular investment. So how it works is that you invest with them, say 100,000 for the IFB infrastructure bond. So each and every year, you'll be getting 13,900 shillings as an investor. So if you get it, you can now choose the best way now to build your wealth is now to compound it. You get your 13,940 and then you reinvest it back. Basically now plow it back to that 100,000 initially that you invested. Obviously the math doesn't work out that way because the minimum investment is around 50,000 thereabout. But rough estimate, you plow it back and then that 150,000 that you've plowed back plus some additional investment, it will be able to get you back another 13.9% each and every year. So it's upon you, but the ideal way to grow your wealth is now to compound it.
So I think that the practical side of it is you would have to actively invest yourself. It is not happening internally, like for instance, in your savings account that is going on. You should see the responses right here. Roslyn is saying, thank you so much, Churchill. My takeaway is that investing is always better than not investing. And there was one more, another takeaway. This is Maria who said, don't worry too much about inflation or other downsides. Continue to invest in the long term. You are going to find the return that you're looking for. Guys, let's put our hands together for Churchill for doing such an amazing, amazing job in the time that he was given to do. Sorry, we reduced the time a little bit, but you are able to get the information across. Churchill, currently, what is your fund managing in terms of numbers? How much have people invested with you at your farm? So people know that you're serious.
Okay. So the farm that I joined, I actually joined last year. So we are looking at around, initially the focus is in Ghanaian market. Just to give it some context, as inflation in Kenya, we are really scared it is at around 8.3%. Ghana is at a whopping 30%. So you can imagine the opportunities that are there. People just can't sit back and say, I mean, inflation is 30%. So they keep on investing. Yeah. So the fund that is there is around 100 billion shillings equivalent. We are now starting an Africa fund that will be looking at bonds across the African continent. So we are quite hopeful that by the end of this year, we'll have some decent position. Yeah.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, did you hear about 100 billion shillings? So my question is to you, where is your money? Churchill is busy investing for others. Where is your cash? Where is your strategy to put this together? Thank you so much, Churchill, for that. As we close this out, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be able to share all the information as is. Let me take you through very quickly so you understand. Classes start on the 7th of September. You come into the class, the Centonomy 101 class, for one session per week. You choose either Tuesday evening. I saw somebody asking, for those of us who are so busy, is there time in the evening? Yes. The classes on Tuesday and Thursday are in the evenings from 6 to 8:30 p.m. and we take a short break in between. But let me tell you, by the end of class, usually people are begging for more. It seems like a long time, but one class per week. So you either choose Tuesday or Thursday evening from 6 to 8:30 p.m. or Saturday at 9 a.m. In 1 week, like the week of 7th of September, you will find that we are doing the same class running on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So it's the same class. You only come for one, and it goes for 12 weeks. 12 weeks. People think that 12 weeks is a long time. We are in the middle of the class and people are saying, no, go back again one more time. This is usually the issue that we are facing. When you come into the class, we go through the program, and these are the 12 modules that you're going to do. I said we break it down in understanding how money works, how debt works. When we talk about inflation here, we actually do the calculation. Kanza said it in the class on bread. 1992, bread was 7 shillings here in Nairobi. In 1993, it was 15. Today, it is 65. And that bread was 500 grams. Today, we're buying 400 grams. So now in the class, we're able to calculate and adjust for inflation for ourselves so that our investments are always going to do better. Then we get into debt management. How do we get out of bad debt? How do we use debt for growth? What's the difference between good and bad debt? Then we get into living abundantly, where we coach you to put together the goals and ambitions you have. Because if you don't have a goal and ambition, doesn't matter what we train as far as the investment classes are, it will not work. Once you have done that, now we get into the investment classes. Now you understand about bills, bonds, and unit trusts. All the things we're talking about here. Which one works for you? Which one is the best for now? Which one should I use in future? And we work through that. Property and investments, that whole discussion about owning your own home, owning land. What is the best way that you're going to be able to achieve your personal goals? And then we talk about the stock market, understanding investing in businesses. It's not just shares. You're investing in a business. And that business, how can you assess whether it is good or bad and whether you're going to see the result over time? When you think about it over the period of time that Safaricom has been trading, I think there are over, if you talk about it from the IPO till now, you're talking about an over 30% average return. And people here are busy looking for 13%. We need to have a discussion about where is the real money, where are people actually making the money that we're talking about. Then we get into insurance, estate planning, and taxes, all being taught by insurance experts, tax lawyers, estate planning lawyers, to help you to see how do we protect our money. So this is a holistic plan, ladies and gentlemen, not just touching here and there. It is leaving you so that when you leave the class, you have a strategy for achieving the goal that you want, which we then put together in a 5-year financial plan there in module 11. And each one of you leaves with goals set. You know what you're going to be able to do. In the class, we give you tools, spreadsheets that you're able to use. We give you expense trackers. We're able to give you a planner for how to do your budget, all these various things so that they work for you. And then we do implementation and going through. We also have a bonus class around women and money, money and relationships, men and money. So gentlemen, we have not left you out. We're just giving you examples that these are not the only things that you're going to learn in the sessions that are going to be there. And so what is the plan now? This is the time to register with only 500 shillings. Take advantage of that, a special registration fee. You're already saving some cash, because tomorrow you'll come back and Maureen will tell you 1,500. If you're outside of Kenya, that's $5. And if you come tomorrow, Maureen will tell you $15. Okay, we're just doing a rough change in terms of exchange rate. So first installment, 16,000, not 1,600. I apologize for the mistake there. Then 16,000 in the next month, and then in the final month, 12,500. So that total amount can be paid in installments. So kindly take a quick screenshot. For those who are going to pay via M-Pesa, take advantage of it right now. And those who are outside of Kenya, I'm about to give you the screenshot so that you can make that payment and become on you can be able to get that benefit to you today. We want you to live with a holistic strategy. Please don't play this game like a soccer player, only defending, only attacking, or you don't even have the right players on the pitch, or you don't even know what the goal is. How can you win in a game that you don't know the goal? And so those who are saying financial freedom, have you defined what financial freedom is? Have you defined what it is that you're looking to achieve? Do you know what you want? So for the international students, kindly take a quick screenshot so that you can be able to do all that we're saying. Everyone was asking, where can we get this information? This has been live streamed on our YouTube channel, so you can always come back, go to Centonomy on YouTube, and then you'll be able to get this information and see the entire presentation from beginning to end. I know some came in a bit late, so you can be able to do that. Sheila has said it so well. All right, you're doing it. You know, no idea how you're going to get the rest of the money. Take the advantage today, and you will find as you make it a plan. What's this? Sheila is a great example. Thank you for saying this, because she has said, my goal is to attend this class. Now she's making the investment of 500 shillings, and then she's going to go home and figure out, where will I get the first installment of 16,000 in the next few weeks? Because it's starting in September, ladies and gentlemen. So you have time to prepare, and then you're able to work from that perspective. Here's the one thing, and I hope you heard it from Kanza, and I hope you heard it from Churchill. You have no choice, because time is moving, whether you like it or not. Napoleon Hill said, time is, this thing called time is not relenting. It will continue to move, and the best time to invest always is now. You can't invest in the past, and you don't know what the future holds. So the only time that you have is now. So make that choice today. I'm going to look through and see if there are any other questions. If you have questions, kindly type them in the chat box, or if you're on social media, or in the Q&A session here, so that we can be able to. Churchill, kindly share your contacts in the chat box so people can be able to see. Factoring in the time value of money, what's the payback period of low-end real estate properties? Thank you. So Jeremy, that's a great question to ask. And you come into the real estate class. We have an entire real estate class, as you can see. Let me go there for you. Module 6, which is taken by a land economist. She's also a real estate agent, but she's not coming to sell you land. She's coming to teach you the process that we're going to go through. And here's the thing. She will talk to you about two ways that you're going to get a return on real estate. Number one is the cash flows, which is usually done through rental payments. So you will address that. And then you'll also talk about the capital appreciation, which is the growth in the value of the real estate that you have. Now, how is it to be able to, how are you able to think differently and to be able to say which is the best investment? I go back to the very beginning. What is your goal? Because if your goal is cash flow, then we talk about rent. If your goal is return, then we talk about how are we going to look for that capital appreciation. Wow, wow, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I can hear you there. I can see Margaret is talking about this. At Centonomy, we run another program called the Centonomy Entrepreneur. This is how to consider between the two programs. Which one is best for you, Margaret? If your primary source of income is your business, then you need to get your business right in order for you to invest elsewhere. However, Margaret, everybody needs to do the Centonomy 101 program. Why? Because it is holistic and it also addresses an entrepreneur. Please remember, entrepreneurs, if you're in business, business is not your only investment. You need to be investing elsewhere so that those things will take care of you in the lifestyle that you want. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the time to make sure that you're able to take advantage of the Centonomy 101 program, which is starting in September. Go to our YouTube channel. This all will be there for you to be able to view. I hope we have opened your eyes to understand. If you're going to play and win in this game of wealth creation, you have to know the rules. You have to have the best players on the pitch. You have to have a strategy, and it cannot be one strategy alone. You cannot be playing defensive only. If you only do that, you'll never score and you can't win. If you're only offensive, you can never defend and you will just lose. Listen to me. This class covers everybody at whatever stage in life you are. We've had wonderful times in our 101 program talking with retirees as we're talking with university students. At whatever stage, because each one of us is different, we are going to apply the knowledge that we're learning to our current situation. And it's so powerful in the class when we have different perspectives, because everyone is teaching each other. Everyone is teaching each other. Those who are slightly older are giving their experience from the past. Those who are younger are giving the experience of new things that maybe you have never been exposed to in later on in life. So whatever stage you are in, ladies and gentlemen, the 101 program, as it is described by 101, this is the fundamentals of the wealth creation program. And the fundamentals can be learned at whatever age you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have learned something. I hope you have appreciated. May God bless you over this weekend. For all my Kenyan brothers and sisters, go vote. Make sure, because your vote will affect the economy in future. So make sure you vote and vote for the person that you believe and in all the different positions who will bring about the change that you want. Please participate and be part of it. To everyone else from outside Kenya, we are so grateful to have had you here. May God bless you all and keep you. See you in class the week of the 7th of September. God bless. Bye.